Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the Free Think Dojo. The more days that I live on planet Earth, I never cease to be totally amazed by people. When I say I'm amazed by them, I'm amazed at how disappointing regular people can turn out to be. Now, obviously, everybody is special in their own way. We're all uniquely to who we are. But what I've noticed lately is that people's awareness seems to be quite non existent. Now, obviously, this does not pertain to everybody, but when we're talking about the general public, I feel like awareness as a whole is not a trait that people share or even learn at some point in their life. And I notice it in the worst places, unfortunately, and it's getting old. So today I thought I would talk a little bit about awareness and why, one, it's so important to have just general awareness. It's also something that I've noticed that has been depleting for a long time. Just wanted to give my thoughts on why that might be. I got the idea to make this video after the weekend that I had. I actually went to a play with my fiance and her family, and there was a mix of kids because it was more of a kid-oriented play, a lot of parents there with their kids, but then also just a lot of the general public as plays usually have. And depending on the play that you're at, it will kind of change the demographic of people. So there we are watching the play, and usually when you go to something like this, usually the general consensus is to have some sort of theater etiquette. It's kind of like when you go to a movie theater, and before the movie, it tells everybody to shut up, put your phones away, and watch the movie. So for a play, there is a little bit more of an unspoken rule. Obviously, there are no signs out there that say, be quiet, at least not the ones that I went to. And also, there's no kind of, people to be security in a sense. As the play started, obviously the lights dimmed, the play began, and during the play, I started to notice that, of course, the people right next to me, which was a grandma and three little kids, decided that they wanted to talk during the entire play. Now, usually I'm one of those people that lets those things go. It obviously annoys me in the moment, but I try to kind of step in their shoes as much as I can. I also don't like to cause issues and create conflict, so most of the time I just try to bear through it. But this time just was different. Throughout the entire play, the kids were vocalizing that they did not want to be there. They also were talking about how they were hungry and kind of whining, as kids do. And it was starting to make other people visibly uncomfortable. Now, obviously, they were not yelling or screaming or anything chaotic like that, but it was just enough to where it was really getting in the way of everybody else's experience. Now, I don't technically have an issue with the kids. Obviously, when the kids are whining and talking, like, it is annoying in a sense, but they're kids. They're still learning the way of the world, and they don't know theater etiquette, when they're that young, especially if they haven't been taught. The problem for me was the grandma. Now, regardless of the situation, I don't want to judge them or, come after and attack them, but at the same time, what bothered me the most is that the grandma was also just talking to the kids. She was having full conversations with the kids during the play. And even though it was like semi whispering, you could literally hear the entirety of their conversation. And it happened throughout the entire 2.5, 3 hour play. Now, obviously, if I wasn't sitting next to them, I wouldn't have this powerful of a reaction. But it's only proving my point about awareness. The grandma herself did not have awareness at all. She did not know theater etiquette, and she was not teaching the kids proper etiquette by talking to them and just letting them keep doing what they're doing. There was no shushing the kid or telling them to watch the play. There was no consequences for the kids' chaotic actions and just not understanding. There was no teaching the little kid from the grandma the proper lessons of how to act in public, especially in a theater setting. In turn, because of their lack of awareness of how their actions were disrupting everybody around them, other people were visibly having an issue. They were visibly not having a good experience watching the play because they couldn't hear it. In the middle of songs, they were talking. And for a lot of people, that was visibly making them upset. I was looking over to my fiance, who was also visibly upset, and me being right next to it, I was just kind of livid. And the whole time, I'm thinking to myself, why isn't she doing something about it? Whether it's a movie theater or a play or even going to the store or just going out in public in general, I've noticed an influx of people just forgetting what it's like to be in a social setting and be aware that there are other people around you. I've noticed people when I'm grocery shopping over the weekend that keep their cart in the middle of a walkway, and they have no idea that there are other people that are trying to also shop at the same time and need to get past them, and they just don't seem to acknowledge it. I've also seen people that have headphones in during grocery shopping, like they're the only person in the store and just shopping around for fun, and they just completely ignore other people that are trying to get past them. It's honestly sickening to me at this point. I don't know if it's like main character syndrome or people just don't care anymore, but I feel like people have stopped acknowledging that other humans live on this planet. And when they go about their lives, it's just they don't care about the consequences of it. And that can be dangerous in a lot of aspects if they're not careful. Throughout my entire life, I was always taught to be mindful of my surroundings, not only for social aspects, but just to be protected and be safe. It's like walking across the street and looking both ways before crossing. But then in a social setting, it was also applying to things such as being careful of the words that you say. You don't want to obviously say something that will hurt someone. And you also don't want to be in a public setting and be throwing tantrums or, causing issues for other people around you. Personally, I find kind of being invisible in big social settings to be better. I don't want people to acknowledge me. I don't want people to technically know I'm there unless it's someone that I know and, someone that I'm actually trying to socialize with. But the entire time, I always try to be aware of where the door is, where these people are, where the big groups are. I want to know what I'm walking into in case something happens and I need to be prepared, but also just to know where I should be and where I shouldn't be. Unfortunately, though, I feel like a lot of people don't have that trait. They never learned it. And it's not only concerning just from a social aspect, but if you're in a room and an event occurs where you need to be safe, such as, I don't know, a shooting or somebody coming in that is trying to hurt people, you need to know what your surroundings are so you know where to go if you need to run or what you need to grab if you need to protect yourself. And that might just be the martial artist in me, but before I did martial arts, that's what my parents taught me. And I feel like a lot of people are getting into this mode where, if not an autopilot, they're just kind of being unaware on purpose. It might be because how chaotic things are in the world right now, especially in the US, but I feel like a lot of people have become so desensitized that it's almost better for them to just ignore things going on around them so they don't get overwhelmed or, just don't have to deal with conflict and are kind of, I guess, lazy in that sense. But I do feel like a lot of people have gotten to that point from just how everything is kind of overexposed to them. But I also believe that people just give up very easily. I don't know the story about that grandma at the play with the three kids. I'm assuming they were her grandkids and just wanted to go have some fun. But I feel like, regardless, she probably was overwhelmed by having three kids to take care of, and probably the parents, from my opinion at least, aren't great at disciplining them or teaching them right from wrong. But at the same time, I feel like it is an obligation for adults, especially around kids that are the next generation, to teach them these things, to teach them to be aware. But the problem is that you have to know how to be aware before you can teach it. Unfortunately, it does seem that some people will never learn, and they won't be able to teach their kids or their grandkids or just other people in general, which is sad. And I feel like the people that do have awareness or are trying to be more aware in their everyday life, I feel like those are the people that will give our future generations more care. And I feel like our future generations will benefit from those types of people because they need to know what it is to be aware in social settings, be aware just in general of their environment. And I feel like it's more important than we think. Now more than ever, especially in 2025, I think people need to be aware of what's going on around them. Not just to know, but to actually put thought into how they present themselves and how they act in any setting where they need to be aware. Because at the end of the day, the world is a scarier place than ever. But even if it's just a general basic day where nothing's going on, just learning how to be a respectable human being and to care for other people's experience in their daily life, that is so much more important than going about in this main character syndrome and just giving up. Anyways, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Let me know if you've had any experiences yourself as well. I know it's pretty common these days with the general public that this awareness is lacking. So definitely love to hear any stories you have of annoying people and how it's ruined experiences for you in certain situations. I want to make sure I'm not alone in this. Anyways, guys, appreciate you sticking around in the dojo with me today. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Share it with your friends to grow the dojo, and I'll talk to you later.